Welcome to week 6 of Cashin' In with Carville. I'm Zach Ewing. That is James Carville, the one and only. And as he told me a minute ago, back in the saddle after one subpar week of picks. He's back in the right side of the ledger.
We're coming after him. We're coming after him, Bob. I promise you.
That Bengals-Packers game was odd. Our entire standings flipped on it because it looked for a long time like the dog was the right side, ended up being a push. So that was one of those funny gambling games.
It was. And, we got lucky with Oklahoma. I couldn't imagine a worse weekend for being a Longhorn. I mean, but you lose on the last play to Oklahoma, and equally as tragic, A&M beats Alabama. I don't know what is worse in Longhorn Nation. All my Longhorn friends are split.
It was a bad weekend to be a Longhorn. It was not a great weekend to be a Tiger either. They go up to Kentucky and get beat. And Florida comes in now. James, we know weird things happen in LSU, Florida, but this is about the low of the low for LSU right now.
Yeah, Boute's out. Stingley is out. Everybody has injuries. They're never a worthwhile excuse, but we couldn't lose a second string guard or something.
Probably lost those too.
Yeah, we probably lost those. We don't know as much about it, but it's just one of these tragedies where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It's just like picking teams. So sometimes it goes well, and sometimes you can't pick your nose. Well, that's about where I was last week, but let's go get them this week. I'm ready. I'm fired up.
All right, we'll start with a big game in the Big 12. The 11 a.m., the noon Eastern window, very, very good this week. A lot of good games, including LSU, Florida. But we'll start in the Big 12. Oklahoma State catching 5.5 at Texas, who we just talked about.
My theme this week in college are home favorites. The Horns.
All right.
Okay.
We're taking the Horns. I think that probably gives away your next pick, but a couple of big games in the SEC. Auburn is in Fayetteville to take on the Razorbacks, who are 3.5-point favorites.
Guess where I'm going?
I'm guessing you're going to call the Hogs.
I'm going Hogs. Right. I can't do that. I was running the Clinton campaign. Let's make them do that Stewie pig or whatever.
You got to grow up doing that. Otherwise, it's just unnatural.
Yeah, you can't do it if you're not part of the culture.
And then finally,
in your life, you've seen Hillary Clinton do it.
Oh, but I'm too young to imagine. I'm probably lucky for that.
But
the big game, battle of undefeateds, a surprise battle of undefeateds in the SEC. The Kentucky Wildcats at Georgia. It's a battle of undefeateds, but Georgia's favored by 22.5.
You know where I'm going.
Going with the home favorite.
On the home, between the hedges.
Between the hedges, laying 22.5 doesn't scare you.
No.
And they've covered just about every week so far. So.
Yeah, they're on fire. I mean, they're at the very top. They've always been, right near the top of college football. We didn't even gotten a championship game 4 or 5 years ago, but looks like they're destined for some good things here.
Yeah, they look very much like the best team in the country. Before we move on to the NFL, a good time to reset on the Saints. It's their bye week. 3-2 with the number of injuries they've had. You've got to feel pretty good about where they're at.
Yeah, yes, like I said on the show, the surest bet in sports is Sean Payton the week after he lost. Right? If you just had a thing in which the Saints lose a game, plow the next week. And I think that guy is like one of the top 3 coaches in the NFL.
He's proven
it. Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's really good.
And they get a full, actually more than 2 weeks, because their next game next Monday night in Seattle. In the NFL, we have 4 big games for you to pick. In Baltimore, the Ravens hosting the Chargers. It's Ravens -3.
The Chargers are good. All right. I know Lamar Jackson and but what's it, Justin Herbert, the A-Bear was out.
Herbert. Well, we'd say A-Bear.
He's good. I mean, don't take anything away from Lamar Jackson, but I think the Chargers are going to be sniffing around here in the playoffs.
So we're taking the Chargers +3.
Correct.
All right. Another home favorite, the Browns catching a field goal, or laying a field goal, I should say, hosting the undefeated Cardinals.
Browns.
Taking another home favorite. What?
The Browns good.
They are very good. They went toe-to-toe with those Chargers last week.
Right. And I think we had them and we lost with them.
I think you're right. And it was one of those games that came right down to it.
Yeah, it was, sometimes you like I say, you win games that, you shouldn't win, and you lose games you shouldn't lose. And anybody that has ever been around sports gambling completely knows that,
It all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
All comes out in the wash. Okay, well, no option to choose the home favorite here because the road team, the Dallas Cowboys, favored by 4 going up to New England. A statement we wouldn't have said 5 years ago, but it's the truth today. Cowboys -4 at New England.
I'll take the Patriots.
All right, taking the home dog this time. And then finally on Monday Night Football this week, the Bills laying 5.5 in Tennessee.
Tennessee getting 5.5 at home. I'll take them.
All right, so it's a weekend for the home teams.
I got a lot of home teams.
It's a good place to be sometimes.
Sometimes, sometimes it's just the way it is. I have a lot of road teams. They're very good at where they place these lines. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, and they're very skilled at it. They allocate points for the home team pretty good.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Typically about 3 or 3.5, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's actually gone down in the past few years. It's down to 2.5 or 3, most people say now. So it's gone down just a little bit. Maybe travel's gotten easier.
In the home field in professional football, it counts. It really doesn't count very much as baseball. Basketball counts more. I think basketball counts the most. The hockey, I don't know. But
no, I agree with you there. Baseball is about the last at bat, and that might be about it. But speaking of which, a good place to end on a little lagniappe. Dodgers, Giants, 107 wins against 106 wins tonight. Giants host game 5.
It's picking. The Giants, it's one of the best stories in all the sports because nobody saw them coming. And, the Dodgers have this huge favor. I mean, I love Max Scherzer. He's in like Joe Burrow class of people, athletes that I really like because I'm a season ticket holder for the Nationals. So I've seen him pitch a lot. But I just like the Giants because everybody saw the Dodgers coming. All right. And also, I know the Astros are a villainous team and everything, but I like Dusty. I gave you before we go, I'll give you a little piece of history. The first high five ever executed in sports was Dusty Baker when he was with the Dodgers, hit a home run, and greeting him at the plate and high five was Glenn Burke, the first open.
I read that this week. That's funny you mentioned that. Yeah.
In a little part of history, but Louisiana of this, on the mound was J.R. Ritchie. All right, J.R. Ritchie for like 3 years was like Randy Johnson. He was a black guy from North Louisiana. And then he just started deteriorating. And the sports writers would just get voracious. I mean, lazy, work ethic. And the guy died of a goddamn stroke when he was in his 30s. But if you look up J.R. Ritchie, it's for about 3 years, he was almost unhittable.
Sounds like a Shakespearean tragedy there.
Oh, Dusty Baker, Glenn Burke, and then J.R. Ritchie throwing the gopher ball. I mean, it's a pretty amazing coincidence in sports.
And the high five was born.
And the high five was born. Culturally significant thing in sport.
We offer you a high five, and we will see you next week, James. Betting picks and history lessons all together. It's Cashin in with Carville.
You get everything here, everything.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
We appreciate it. We will see you next week.